speeches.
Yeah, you almost fucking time. You'll hear some great speeches.
Shut up, Your Honor. Let me talk.
Go ahead, talk. I was only kidding. Go ahead.
All right, I'd like everybody to raise their glasses. To our new boss. Salute.
To Junior. Junior. To Junior. Salute.
Welcome, and to a very select few of you.
Welcome back.
Fivefold Understanding YouTube variety channel, where the light in the attic is always on. We call it like we see it. Thus, we call out bullshit around here. On today's docket, new mob movies, mafia movies, gangster films, coming soon, 2019, 2020. To Uncle June, Junior. And we'll start with one of the big two. There's two big ones. And no, it's not the one you're thinking of. I found a big film that's coming. Bigger than the De Niro one. Okay. Ray Liotta returns to do or be part of The Many Saints of Newark Sopranos prequel. How about that, huh? It's the story of Christopher Moltisanti's dad and Tony Soprano, or it's going to be young Tony Soprano, is actually going to be played by his kid. Ain't that something? Michael Gandolfini is going to play his kid. They ain't saying a lot about when it's coming out, but it's coming. It's going to be a movie. They're going to have some of the old guys in it, like I'd assume Paulie Walnuts and I think Syl survived, right? You could have Syl sitting in the big chair. I don't know what you could do. Anyways, this looks good. This is one of the big two. This is coming up within the next, 20 months or something. Should be in theaters. And what's really nice about it is David Chase is returning to write it. You know, Sopranos Chase, they won dozens of Emmys for this shit, right? Everybody loves Sopranos. Which actually might be some of the best mafia stuff we got, gangster film related wise. Wasn't that the last of it? Because this stuff is horrible. This Black Mass movie was so fucking bad. I mean, this show could have been so much better. Yeah, he played a crazy psycho because shitface here, what's his name? Johnny Depp, satanic anyway. And this came out the prior year. I didn't see it yet. I mean, Travolta looks like he might be overdoing it a little. I don't really know. I didn't see it. But anyhow, it's got to be better than this shit, right? And so that's what I'm saying. We haven't had nothing good since Sopranos, so it's nice to see it coming back on the map. And just a real quick side note here for anybody into Gotti or anybody into Mafia films that doesn't know about this, you probably don't have to even worry about this film here. Because if you want to watch a couple of really good gangster films, or at least one of them's really good. I got a playlist here. Just click on my pretty little face, check out my playlists, and right there, Gotti, the good version with Armand Asante. Cast is full of Sopranos peoples.
The rule was broken, yes.
Even June, Uncle June, Alan Quinn plays Neil Delacroix. Most of the people already know this, because I'm going to guess most of the people who clicked on this goddamn video would rather play fantasy mafia than fantasy football. You know, Carlo Gambino being number one on the power rankings and all. And it's too bad Uncle June right here didn't play Carlo Gambino because I think he kind of looks like him. Anyhow, that's what y'all want to do. You need to watch this movie if you haven't, or if you only seen the Travolta one, watch this. And then there's the other side of the story. What's his name? Big Paul Castellano. Chaz Palminteri from A Bronx Tale did a Boss of All Bosses version, all about Big Paul. So you get both sides of the story right here. There's actually an HBO Meyer Lansky movie on here. And this is the first HBO movie they ever did. Or at least the first gangster movie HBO ever did. And it's great. I can't believe all these are free on YouTube, so definitely check them out. Moving forward here, The Black Hand is back. That's right. Classic Black Glove, Black Hand. Early New York. One of the first real mafia clans was called the Black Hand. Established on the East Coast way back in the early 1900s. DiCaprio's going to be in it. I guess it's based on a famous book that came out in 2017, except he plays a detective. Although it is a period piece, and as of lately, if you've been paying attention, period piece shows with detectives have been popular, especially that TNT one with, the Dracula origin movie dude was in it. Story set in the summer of 1903, New York. Crime wave startled the country. Black Hand is their calling card, hence the movie's name. Joseph Petrosino, also called as the Italian Sherlock Holmes, fought against crime for New York City to Sicily and captures the members, whatever, of the secret criminal society. Anyways, this is coming soon. Another gangster film. Like I said, it's got to be better than what we've been getting in the last 10, 12 years. Next up is The Irishman. No, this is not the big one I'm talking about. Wait till you see this one I got coming. Nobody even knows about this next one I'm about to show. But first, we got to talk about The Irishman. Martin Scorsese returns with all the normal boys, the regulars, Bobby D, Joe Pesci, and Pacino's hooking up with them in this one. So is Harvey Keitel. Believe it or not, that's Pacino right there. He's going to play Hoffa. I know it doesn't sound real exciting. They even said it's going to be full of CGI, whatever that meant. I mean, a gangster film full of CGI. I don't know. That's just what I heard. And they were like kind of bragging that it wasn't going to be anything like Goodfellas. And we want more Goodfellas, right? It's another one based on a famous book. Screenplays right here. Scorsese's back at it. And this is going to go straight to Netflix, too, after it premieres in theaters. So somehow Netflix muscled in on this whole situation. And yeah, that's Pacino right there. He's going for the gusto. He's going for the big Golden Globe, the sun worship Ptah statue at the Oscars. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up an Oscar statue and cross-reference it with Ptah. P-T-H-A. Any of those look familiar to you? And that's because good old Hollywood and its movie stars is about sun worship, paganism. And I could go off on a tangent. Let me know in the comment section if you'd rather have me go off on a tangent. Anyhow, Irishman, right? The Irishman coming to Netflix. I'm looking at the cast here, and this is where it gets interesting. Look at this. Not just because Anna Paquin's in it. One of these guys are probably going to be dating her or something just ridiculous like that. These guys are like 75 years old. What's she, 28 or something? Anyhow, I'm looking at the cast here, and like I said, Harvey Keitel plays Angelo Bruno. That's a great cast right there. That's a perfect cast for Harvey Keitel. Bobby Cannavale up here at the top plays Felix Skinny Razor DeTullio. He needs to be playing Gallo in a Gallo movie, I'll tell you that. That's what they need to be making, is a Joey Gallo movie. And speaking of which, he appears in this also. Some guy I never heard of, Sebastian Maniscalco, plays Crazy Joe Gallo. It'd be nice if that was the focus of the movie. You get the whole Columbo thing, Joey Columbo family. Nevertheless, I'm going through this, right? Check this out. Larry Romano plays Phil Testa, another big name. Don Rickles, Jim Norton plays Don Rickles. Too bad Don Rickles couldn't play Don Rickles, right? R.I.P. And I'm going through it, and watch this. Ah, shit, I hope I didn't pass it. Right here, I get down here, I'm like, ooh, Albert Anastasia's in this movie. Gary Pastor plays Albert Anastasia. Albert Anastasia is like 6'3", right? Lord High Executioner is going to be played by some guy that's 5'2". But watch this. Watch how interesting this gets. Carmine Persico is in it too, the Snake. Somebody plays him. Check this out. Where the hell did it go? All right, watch what happens when you click on this dude. Midget man here. And you go down to the credits here. Because I was thinking, what's this guy been in? Now, this is a big surprise, and this is unbelievable what you're about to see here. Nobody's been talking about this. What, did I pass it already? Right here, look at this. See it right there? He plays Albert Anastasia, not just in The Irishman, but in Apalachin. You know, the mob meeting out in the boonies where the mob gets busted out by Meyer Lansky and Luciano saying, giving a little fuck you to Vito Genovese on their way out. I couldn't believe it, right? So I click on that. Apalachin. You say Apalachin, I say Apalachin. Anyhow, I click on this thinking, oh my God, they're going to do Famous 57. Now, this stuff should have been done a long time ago. And look who reprises his role as Vito Genovese. Robert Davey. Is that not awesome or what? That's why I put him up there in the thumbnail. And Gino Caffarelli plays Joseph Bonanno's feared underboss, Carmine Galante. Ho, ho, ho. Now, this could be one for the record books, a movie that needed to be made a long time ago, right? All about the year of transition, sort of the death of the golden age of the mob, essentially. Luciano had been deported again a secondary time from Havana, where Meyer Lansky was stationed, and Albert Anastasia was leaning on him, trying to get money into his slot machines and whatnot. And I know Luciano was on house arrest back in Naples, all during the same time. And just prior to 57, probably the secret Kaiser Sose that no one ever talks about, Broadway Joe Adonis, right? I don't even know if he was in Boardwalk Empire. They just totally slipped on that one. And why they didn't just cut out the Boardwalk part and Nucky's part and just continue on with the show calling it Empire, I couldn't tell you. But nevertheless, this was the biggest year in Mafia history that really comes to mind. So much happened. Like I said, Luciano's been deported for the second time. He's totally out of it. There's this big mob struggle in the underworld for power. You got Costello sitting in the big chair, essentially, for Luciano. Especially now that Adonis is gone, he doesn't have as much power, okay? And Albert Anastasia's the Lord High Executioner. He's a wild card if there ever was one. And so these two guys here in the bottom, Vito Genovese and Carmine Gambino, who are essentially both underbosses in these respective families. Genovese was a feared street boss, too. The people on the streets loved him. He was much different than Frank. Frank was a Tammany Hall kind of guy, bribing the politicians. He didn't really like getting his hands dirty. You see, unlike Joe Adonis, who people could say put the ace of spades in Mazzaria, or is it Mazzaria? I always get the names confused. Joe Mazzaria's hand after him and Bugsy, and I believe it was Albert Anastasia whacked him for Luciano, years prior, 2 decades prior. Anyhow, these guys were both sitting underbosses, and the families are named after them. And these two guys kind of foxed their way into the high seats and eventually had both of their families later named after them, when it could have been the Luciano family, Costello family to this day, or the Anastasia family. It's not. It's the Gambino family, and it's the Genovese family. And this all happened in 1957. Vito Genovese's driver, Vincent Gigante, who you could make a real argument was the last boss of all bosses. He is a great story if there ever was one. The Odd Don, and how he let Gotti operate and take all the spotlight and take all the FBI. All the tools of the FBI went after Gotti because he loved the spotlight so much. And Galante, who was in charge of the Gambino family, just sat back there with his feet up. And some of the stories about things, this guy, I mean, he really did rule the underworld. Anyways, he was Vito Genovese's driver. And after a hit on Frank, where he yelled out, "Hey, Frank, this is for you," on May 2nd of 1957, I guess Frank ducked. A bullet grazed his skull, hence the blood on his coat, the wrap under his fedora, which actually became a famous look later on, all due to this total fuck-up by Gigante in the chin. Anyhow, Albert Anastasia died months later in a very famous barbershop hit. And since Luciano and Adonis were gone, and Lord High Executioner here, who was the head of Murder Incorporated for a while with Louis Lepke, he was pushed out, so Costello had no more power and was resorted to essentially retire. Even though he did get picked up, I want to say, years later, and he had the W-2 forms for the Tropicana Casino Resort in his pocket, believe it or not. Anyhow, he got pushed out. Genovese slid up back into the big chair, and Gambino took over what was the Mangano-Anastasia family, and the rest is essentially history. Well, anyhow, on November 14th, just prior to the October 25th assassination of Anastasia, there was a meeting out in the boonies, the Apalachin. Like I said, you say Apalachin, I say Apalachin, whatever. These two guys had a meeting where they were going to crown Vito Genovese as king. And Gambino was there, and he got arrested. I seen the newspaper clips of it from way back when. Anyhow, rumor has it, the boys, Adonis and Luciano and Lansky, sent a little FU to these guys at their meeting and made sure the cops were all aware of what was going on way out in the middle of nowhere. And it's just awesome that Hollywood would actually pick this up, because it's such a perfect, I mean, the whole movie could start with the Costello hit, then you roll right into the Anastasia hit. It's just perfect. And they got Robert Davey reprising his role from the Gangster Chronicles as, Vito Genovese, a street boss that all the soldiers loved because he loved killing and getting his hands dirty. And then right here, this is the guy that's supposed to play Anastasia on the right. I was telling you, little 5-foot-tall midget. Probably the wrong guy to play Albert Anastasia, but, how strange that he plays him in 2 upcoming movies. Nevertheless, I thought it was a good reason to drop this knowledge on everybody and let y'all know we got some good Mafia movies coming, as opposed to this absolute joke that we've been experiencing for the last 10, 12, 15 years when it comes to, real gangster films and Mafia movies. So especially if they do it right, this could be a real winner, This could be a really, really good movie. Fingers crossed for this one. They do it right. And outside all that, the only other one I could find was this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's Tarantino, not really gangster film. It's like a colloquial quasi-gangster film. I don't even know if that's this, but Tarantino style. It's quasi or quasi at best, right? Nevertheless, there you have it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, whatever the hell this is, also stars DiCaprio. The Black Hand movie we talked about. The straight to Netflix, The Irishman. And the one I just cannot wait for, right here. Apalachin. You say Apalachin, I'll say Apalachin. With that being said, Fivefold Understanding YouTube variety channel. Leave me a comment down there below if I missed something. And outside of that, throw me a sub. And until next time, the saga continues.